All right, Bob, now we're going to go into the Gremlin division.
1 year older than the Scouts.
Well, 2 if it's a 7-year-old. These are the 9-year-olds.
Yep.
And again, as part of our modified instructional league, we're just moving them along the track to their 10-year-old season, which is full-on real football.
Yes.
So it's 11 on 11. We play on an 80-yard field.
Yep.
And we are going to introduce some things to the game to them that they can now handle.
Correct.
But there's some parts of the game that we got to limit.
But we
want them to get the experience of.
Correct.
So I'm going to give it to you.
Well, let's talk about those things that are going to change between the Scout age and the Gremlin age. The main one is that we're going to add field position into the game. We're going to introduce that concept of field position and earning and keeping what you've gained and so forth. So we will now no longer start each series from the 40-yard line. We will start wherever it belongs according to the concepts of football. So that's going to go away from the Scout age.
So the 40-yard line goes away, and we're going to introduce kickoffs.
We're going to introduce kickoffs and a modified punt as well.
And a modified punt. So where do we kick off from?
We will kick off from the 30-yard line, just as we do for the older age kids. Kickoffs will occur. The kicking restraining line, what is called, is the 30-yard line, and the receiving team may line up as close as the 40-yard line to that kickoff. So they will put the ball on a tee, run up, kick off the ball, and let chaos ensue.
So for the majority of our kids, they've played 1 or 2 years of Scouts. They've been introduced to the game. Now they move up to the next level. The next level, we're going to let them have kickoffs. The kickoff is on the 30-yard line. The receiving team lines up at midfield or the 40-yard line.
Correct, unless it's a free kick following a safety.
And that is placed where?
At the 20-yard line.
20-yard line. We're not going to get into the safety rules on this aspect, but
for the most part, it's either going to be the 30 or the 20 unless it's moved by penalty. So just that covers 99% of the time.
So another aspect of the kicking game is the change of possession on 4th down, or what is known as the punt.
Yes.
So in Gremlins, we're going to do something different or have a modification to the game, and what does that mean?
What we're going to do is introduce the punt play into the game of football and allow an offense on 4th down to declare to the referees and to the opponents that they intend to punt the football. And this then enacts the freeze punt special rules that occur in the Ute Conference. So what those are basically this. On a freeze punt, both the offense and the defense sets up their players in the formation that they want. The ball is snapped, but no player may cross the neutral zone, the line of scrimmage, until the ball is kicked. So the punter is allowed to take a maximum of 2 steps once he receives the snap from the center. Nobody rushes, everybody waits, and they freeze until the ball is kicked by the punter. Once the ball is kicked, then everybody can move to recover the ball, advance, so forth and so on, block, tackle, and normal punt football activities. So this eliminates the long snap from the punt game and the chance of mishandling those long snaps, which is the biggest variable at this age for these kids to be able to execute. So we've eliminated that from the Gremlin age.
So we want the center practicing those long snaps.
That'd be fine.
So practicing the long snaps through his legs, back to the punter, and nobody can enter, so nobody can hit the center.
Nobody hits the center and nobody can rush across the line of scrimmage if the ball is dropped by the punter, or he snaps it over his head, or he snaps it over toward the sideline, or whatever. The punter just goes over and picks it up, and then from wherever he is, he can take 2 steps and punt the ball.
What if somebody rushes? What's the penalty for that?
No, we just make them go back. Just go back across the line of scrimmage. You're not allowed to do that. So we're not going to allow that to happen.
But if it continuously happens throughout a game, after they have warned and instructed, there can be a 10-yard penalty.
There could be, yeah.
We don't want it.
That's never gonna get called very often, just simply because it's just much easier to just say, get back on your own side of the ball and wait. You know, you guys know what to do.
You said something that I want to clarify, though. The punter, maximum of 2 steps. You take 2 steps. We want this simulating what they're going to have to do the following year.
Correct.
So you receive the ball, take 2 steps, punt it away. We don't want you moseying on or towards the sideline or getting yourself into an advantageous position.
Correct.
That also, after warning, will just make you start over and do it again. That could carry a 10-yard penalty. We don't want that. We want this simulating a punt without the rush, allowing your centers to learn how to snap the football. Now, what else changes? Or what's the same?
Well, pretty much the other thing that changes, the other major change is what we referred to in our last video as the A-gap protection rule for the scouts, where players on the line of scrimmage were not allowed to line up either head up on the center or in the A-gap between the center and the guard if they're on the line of scrimmage. That restriction goes away at the Gremlin age group. Players can now line up on the line of scrimmage anywhere they want.
So the wedge play, John, which you love, the wedge, that's a little more difficult at the scout or the Gremlin age.
Actually, I think it's easier.
Do you really?
It all depends on who's
it's
blocking.
easier. It's easier when someone's head up on your center guy to give them resistance.
That's interesting.
Because
That's an
if
interesting
there's no
philosophy.
one on the front of in the front of your point of your wedge, they shoot through.
But nonetheless,
and then
you
the others
you
crash,
have
But it makes it harder to quarterback sneak. It makes it harder to do,
those types
what
of things.
they can do in scout. Yeah,
Because they can line up anywhere, they can rush any gap, they can come. It's basically real football on real defense
Correct.
at that age.
At this age group, we now expect the center and the quarterback to be able to make a clean exchange with the pressure of a player right nose to nose with them.
So our coaches.
Coaches are similar, exactly the same rule as we've had in the Scout League. We will allow one coach on the field who is allowed to instruct the players, call the plays, call and set the defensive formation up until the time as the center places a hand on the football and the snap is imminent. At that point, the coaches must cease talking and get out of the way of the play and be, as the rules say, at 10 yards behind the closest official on the field.
Hey, once the ball is snapped, can they start yelling?
You got silence over here.
I've never had an instance where we've ever had to enforce anything like that because everybody's yelling.
I'm just saying, the ball's
Who's not yelling?
Yeah.
I thought don't the coaches on the field have to be quiet throughout the entirety of the play?
I don't think that's the case.
We want once the player engages the football and the snap is imminent, we want the coaches. If they're going to start yelling and screaming instructions, the kids aren't listening to them anyway, but everybody's yelling and screaming. So I don't believe that is a violation
Yeah, the one thing that we do want to avoid is the coach walking up to the player and pushing them on the back toward the play to say, Johnny, get over there and tackle that guy, and physically moving that player. That involvement, that's too much.
Well, something like the coach yelling pass, or run left, it's going left.
That's fine.
That is okay because, quite honestly, run left to a 9-year-old, it might be bad information because he might be running right.
Well, remember that this is 6 seconds of terror to these kids. Once the ball is snapped, they go through 6 seconds of absolute terror. They don't remember what left means and where left is. And so it's hard for a player to process a lot of the information that they get, especially when it's coming from 17 different sources, all during those 6 seconds of terror.
they have a lot of processing to do at 9 years old.
Absolutely.
So those are the primary differences between the game. Coaches, instruction. This is another level of instruction. Yes, we have playoffs. Yes, we're very, very competitive. But we want the kids loving the game. Again, at the end of the game, what's the first thing you hear, John?
Where's the snacks?
You got it. And
getting
that's
good at that.
as it should be. As it should be. So, Bob, I think this covers the Gremlins.
It does. It does. Thank you, Jeff.
Watch our video on Scouts. Watch this video on Gremlins. Parents, this is for you. Coaches, this is for you. Referees, this is for everybody. This is our formative years. We want these kids loving the game. John Halliburton, Bob Milam, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
We're out.